day 2. Students might get confused when they see Go to Planner page titled CY1 Day 3. Just remind them that this is an intensive course. So today's class is going over day 3 and 4 of the summer session. So make sure that confusion is quelled. Have them think about this Teaser Tuesday, encourage them not to use their devices and to use their brains. Pray the prayer, make sure you do the mute-unmute protocol for the sushi pay. Go over the agenda, that will do our bell ringer. We're going to do a Canvas check, module scavenger hunt, and then end with the 6-word memoir. So in their breakout rooms, you want to give them approximately 7 minutes. I would say make sure that you use the timer so that they get in and out of breakout rooms fairly quickly. Have them go over brain teaser and try to figure out a connection of 3 things that they have in common. The more bizarre, the better. Give them, a healthy 5 minutes. When they come back, review with them. What did you discover about one another? It might be tricky during this breakout room because this is day 2. So you might, as the facilitator, one of you might want to go pop in and out of breakout rooms just to make sure that they're figuring out their connections and not just sitting and looking at each other or turning off their screens, which is a very real possibility on Zoom. Once we've done that, go over teachers and rules. A lot of students are going to give you answers like, if you don't prepare for your test, if you don't do your homework, you will fail. But we really want them to make the connection to rules. Why do rules exist? Why do teachers enforce rules? And that's because one form of preparation is to follow what is expected of them in terms of their decorum, and also it's put in place in order for them to be successful in life, right? So we want them to see that rules exist. The reason why we have protocols and procedures in our classes is to help them be successful later in life, to help them with their self-regulatory behaviors. I think because you're working with older students, you might get to that meaning, but your freshmen might not see it quite yet. Then we're going to just do a Canvas check. Have the students go to Canvas and check for comments. Some of them might have a hard time doing this, so tell them to go to submission details, and that's how they're going to see their comment. Then you're going to do a quick overview of Canvas modules. This is where I'd say stop sharing the slide deck screen and just go to Canvas. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go to the home page of yours. I might even ask students as I'm doing this, what's this called? It's a course card. What's the first thing that's going to pop up? It's our landing page, right? These are things we went over last class. First thing we're going to say is the landing page can be bare bones or it can be as elaborate as we want it to be. When we go and click on modules, usually what the module does, it's organized by unit, or in the case of CY, by day. So you see that everything from the slide decks, depending on what type of class you're taking, to the assignment, to the homework, is kind of embedded in this module. And students will see that they can see day 1 and day 2, but if I was a student and put it into student view, and the module scavenger hunt, day 3, day 4, and day 5 are blocked out because we won't see them until a certain time. Once they understand what modules are and the purpose of that, we're going to click on the calendar. And this is really important because a lot of our students will often say, you didn't post this assignment, it wasn't on Canvas. And usually my first knee-jerk reaction is, well, what do you have highlighted in your calendar? And what I mean by that is if I click on this, all my assignments disappear. So we have to make sure that all of our assignments are turned on so that students can be successful and know that they have homework or not. So if I actually go to the accelerated week and I turn that on, students are going to see that they have a lot of stuff going on. And that's not to overwhelm them. That's just to say that we've got an intensive week together, so we need to make sure that we turn on all of our calendars. This is going to be incredibly important for the school year. So once you show them that, you're actually going to go back to the dashboard, back to your course card, and you're going to tell the students to go to the 3rd module labeled Module Scavenger Hunt. And this is some independent work time. I would say 10 to 15 minutes of silence. It's your choice whether you put them in breakout rooms or not. It might be helpful to put them in breakout rooms so that students can troubleshoot. around what they're doing. So really quickly, I'm back here, go to modules, and students are going to notice that the module, the way it's set up, is you have to do each step before. So you have to complete all the items. You have to go step by step. So are you a Genius? They're Genius scanning something. Are you locked in? They're reading how to download Lockdown Browser onto their computers, and that requires Lockdown Browser. I will say, quite frankly, that we've had a lot of issues with Lockdown Browser, so you might want to consider, you the teacher have power over the module. You can take off the Lockdown Browser requirement if it's creating more issues for your online students. Are you calendared and are you quizzical? Again, give them 15 minutes of work time. You can decide if you want to put them in breakouts or not so that they have support with one another. After they've done that, and if you still have issues, you can say, hey, listen, it's pretty normal for this to happen, for us to have technical difficulties, especially on Zoom. Come see me for office hours if you need any help. We're just going to go over Canva. So we're going to say that 6-word memoir that you wrote yesterday, we're going to make into an Instagrammable post. Canva is a WYSIWYG design platform. It means what you see is what you get, so it doesn't require Photoshop. So they're going to create an account, and we want them to use their Loyola Gmail, and then we're going to have them design a post. So they're going to put their memoir in, it needs to include their name, they need to submit the file as an attachment in Canvas, and then they get a couple points for creativity. So once they've done that, give them, it says 25 minutes, they got a lot of time. If a student ends early, tell them to start working on their homework for the day. Tell them to, if there's any missing assignments, to finish those up. This is really a free working period. You can tell them they can turn off their screens when they're done. They just have to be back by 11:35. So once we come back from our bio break, say, okay, this is going to be day 4's lesson, still open to growth. We're going to do some Gmail practice and then give you some more time to work on that Canva assignment. So I would say for this part, don't over-explain email. Tell students, what does it mean to CC somebody? Does anyone know what that stands for? That's carbon copy. Student emails have different handles than teacher emails, right? And then show them, let's go ahead and, we've used the appropriate avatar for Canvas. Let's do the same thing for Gmail. I want you to go to your Gmail right now and upload that same photograph of yourself to your Gmail. So I'm going to click on this little photo icon. That's going to allow me to add my email. That's it. Profile picture. Done. So what I want students to see is you don't need to micromanage this part. This should be really fairly simple. But then we want to say, okay, I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation that you believe your instructor misgraded an assignment with your partner in your breakout room. You're going to draft an important email using the guidelines highlighted in the email etiquette document. This is important. Before you draft your email, I want you to read. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes in breakout rooms to read the email etiquette document. And show them using your planner, show them the link, whatever makes sense for you. Then bring them back and say, okay, now that you've read the email etiquette document, this is how I want you, this is how I'm going to grade your email. Do you have an appropriate subject bar? Is there a greeting, a message? Check for spelling, appropriate avatar, etc., right? So you'll notice what Cindy and Vinay did last year is they did certain breakout rooms would go to certain teachers. That's something that you can decide yourselves. Once they've done that, that's 15 to 20 minutes. Notice that independent work time, we're giving them a lot of space because this is an intensive course and we want them to feel like, okay, they have time to make up things. They didn't turn in their Canva thing. It's not the end of the world. Last thing we're going to do is an exercise called metacognition. We don't want to ask them what metacognition is if they're not sure. The image is a hint. It's thinking about thinking or thinking about how we're learning or not learning. Have a student read this out loud, go through this cycle, and remind them that it's iterative and repetitive. So they'll notice on their planners that there's a metacognitive exercise related to this quote, we must be taught how to think, not what to think. So we're going to reflect in our CY planner, and first we're going to evaluate lessons. What did I already know before CY1? give them a minute, write it down. What have you learned? What's new? And so give them, a couple minutes per question. I think is going to be helpful. Then how can I prove that I've learned it? This is the key part, and tell the students that. A lot of you might say you've learned something, but how can you prove that you understand it? And then what's still fuzzy / needs clarification? Minute for each. Then we want to apply strategies. What do you need to improve in your areas of growth? So what resources, who do I need to go to? And then how do I plan to do that? We want them to start being proactive about their needs. And then once they've written that down, they're going to take a picture of their planner. They're going to Genius scan it to Metacognition week 2. And then we are submitting these assignments. 6-word memoir, Canva, day 2 homework, that's what's due for them. And they have a quiz next class, so the quiz on Wednesday's date. All right, so again, really important that you give them that breathing room throughout this lesson. So it will take probably the full 150 minutes, but they've had a lot of independent time, so they're not super overwhelmed with homework. And that is that lesson. And don't forget to invite them to lunch if you have not already.